Thursday night. We are in Nova Scotia. We're brought to you by Erdinger. It's Thursday before Good Friday, before Easter Saturday, before Easter Monday, but in the gap is the biggest Easter Sunday of our lives. I have got Neil Jones, I've got Phil Blundell, I've got John Gibbons and Neil Jones. Liverpool have got to do their thing. They've got to do their thing, but we know where we are. We know where we are by the time we get to 7 o'clock on Sunday night.
Yeah, it's a bit like Formula 1 reference, but all the pit stops are done now, isn't it? It's like everyone's got the same tyres on, everyone's got the sort of fuel in the tank, and let's see what they've got till the end. I've sort of been getting my head around it this week, that like, this is it now, isn't it? Like 6 weeks basically to the finish. And I mean, I don't really say this much as a journalist, because you're sort of always in the actual event of it, but I'm really looking forward to this. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what Liverpool have got, and I almost have made a little bit of peace that even if they fall short, I think they've done enough to sort of say, well, you know what a team sort of thing, and what a year it's been. Not that it'll hurt any less if they don't, but I think this now is a really, really good start for them. I think these next 3 games, I personally think if they win all 3 of them, I think they'll win the league. But they've got to win the first one, obviously.
They've got to win the first one, Phil. And you were saying prior even to the game at home against City, we're not going to know even if it goes wrong against City, and in the end it wasn't quite the result we wanted, but it didn't go badly wrong. We're not going to know what the task is until 7 o'clock on Sunday. That to me is, I think that's now become clear, not just because we drew against City. Even if we'd have beat them, we would still have a far better understanding as to what the job was that needed to be done. And I think that for me is the most important thing out of the weekend. It is almost, we get there, I'll come back to it, I'm going to come back to it in part 2, don't worry. The idea of how we get there ourselves, our bit, but it is the overall picture now.
Yeah, you find out a lot. I think whoever loses that game, if one of them do lose, I think they're going to find it really tough to get back into it. And the points-wise, for example, it'd be 4 for City, potentially. It'd be 3 for Arsenal, but they'd be 2 points behind Arsenal, and City would be 2 points behind further points behind Arsenal as well. I'll explain that very well, but
I think everyone gets the
they've got to go past 2 teams basically, and I think the idea that you go past 2 teams with sort of 9 games to go is really, really difficult.
And the other commitments that they both got as well, that's the other thing to point out. Their other commitments are massive.
Absolutely. I think the next sort of 3 or 4 weeks for both of those 2 is massive, because they've got such big Champions League games. All right, we've got a Europa League game, which we can't forget about in all this, but at the same time, we're not playing a team of the level of Real Madrid or Bayern Munich, and then we haven't got either the other one of those or Real Madrid or Bayern Munich around the corner in the event that we do win that, whilst also having a big midweek game in the middle. I can't remember who. I think Arsenal playing Chelsea, for example, as their midweek game. Man City's, I think it's a bit easier, but I can't quite remember off the top of my head who it is. But it's such a congested run for those 2 teams that we've just got to get to these 3 games and sort of see these in batches. I think Neil's spot on about the win the 3. I think we'll win it. There's a world where if it's a draw on Sunday, you can take 7 from the 3, and when I say the 7, I mean you go to Old Trafford, because if you draw with Sheffield United, that's a terrible result. It means you probably won't win the league because of where you think it means you are as a football team.
It's with it, the manager's got to be able to plan his moves. It's why we're doing this before the press conference, and don't blame us, blame Jürgen. He's thrown it in Friday rather than Thursday. He's coming up in a minute in the break thing, but he might just have a good long think about the Thursday-Friday decision he's made here. And
say what you want about Sean Dyche, but he got his done Thursday.
Got it done early. He'd done it yesterday if they'd let him. Dyche, he got it out the way big time. We're going to find out more about exactly who is or isn't around. But for me, a lot of this is about managing these players, the ones who've been brilliant for us last few weeks, the ones who are returning. It's about picking up their sort of journey for when they're going to play a part, because I think that's going to be how we can manage our run in a way they can't in the same way they are just because of their European commitments. They are just foot to the floor all the way through these, and where we have got some leeway, not loads, but some.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I think we don't know exactly who's back for Sunday, and I've got a feeling that it might be a little bit soon for the couple, but you feel like by Thursday, or at least Old Trafford, if he wants to hang on, that we will have more available than we had last time we went to Old Trafford, and so that is a good thing, and people coming back, you'd like them fresher, but hey, the rest aren't they going into sort of this period, there'll be a few who either like to have played a little bit more football, but at the same time, you know, they'll have fresh legs and they'll be raring to go, and they'll be absolutely chomping at the bit. You know, some of these players who are coming back, well, I mean, all of our players are elite footballers, that's why they're at Liverpool, but you've got some real quality, you've got some real winners, and you've got some people who, you know, we've seen perform at a really, really high level when it matters for this football club coming back alongside the ones who've been fantastic for us the last few months. And listen, the form's been great. We've got to remember that, you know, while we've had these injuries, they've just won. You know what I mean? And just sort of in the league, having that City one, they've just kept winning. It's been brilliant to see. And yeah, with this week, it's got the FA Cup just before, but you can put that aside and focus now, you know, on that checkered flag like Neil Jones so eloquently puts, and I will steal that for next time on Sky.
Tomorrow, they'll love that as well. They'll love that, you know. They can cross the brands.
Oh, yeah. F1 channel, haven't they?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Maybe they'll let you do it with Ted. Not your son Ted, the F1 presenter Ted. Either would be a lot.
Ted beats Ted, coming to you soon. Yeah.
I'd like you to be on the track, the way you have them one
the grid walk with Gibbons.
That's your calling, that, you know. You as Brundle, you'd be brilliant.
Yeah, I'd have more to drink than mine, Brundle. If I was doing it. But yeah, I mean, I'm available, Sky, for that and anything else.
There is with it. John's mentioned there, for me, one of the things the manager's not had last few games, and he's done brilliantly, they've all done brilliantly, and even the players he's called on have done brilliantly, but a lot of his trump cards earlier in the season was 5 good subs. Yeah. And that's the thing I'm excited about, even if some can't even start necessarily on Sunday for the game against Brighton. I think he's genuinely, Phil's talked about it all the way through the season, the sides in the mid-table who were able to sub like for like, Fulham are a really good example of it. When we're at our best, we can sub like for like. It's just all of our like for like are lads who could win leagues.
Yeah, and also I think the horses for courses element as well. So you can change your midfield based on. I mean, Brighton are a good example actually. Aren't they? You might have a different midfield for Brighton than you would for Sheffield United. Not even allowing for the quality, just for the tactics of it. That's been taken away a little bit, hasn't it? You know, midfield, I think in particular, it's felt a little bit like, right, we've got 3 midfielders and they've got to play. Yeah, even in the forward line, really, it was for a while, wasn't it? But you look now, you'd have potentially Gravenberch. You know, he's back for Old Trafford, wasn't he? But he probably wasn't available in terms of you wouldn't want to use him. You should have Canate. I think he played 90 for France, didn't he? You've obviously got left backs in Simicas and Gomez. You've got Bradley. You've got Kwanzaa. You've Elliott. Like Nunes, Salah, Gakpo, Diaz. Jota's not far away. So all of a sudden you're looking and you're saying, well, I like that matchup. I like Jota against them. And I like Nunes against them, or I like him from the left against them, or I like this is Elliott's game, rather than it being, look at Harvey, you're gonna have to play another 95 minutes here, and speak to HR. But, no, it's that kind of flexibility that it gives you, and I think as well, you talk about the Atalanta game, without it being a sort of, I don't think anyone really thinks it's a gimme, but it does. It's so much less pressure than having Bayern Munich in the first leg of the Champions League.
Being at home really helps.
It just gives you the chance to, even if it's not necessarily we're going to rest the whole team, but it's like, do you know what? This is the game for Diaz. This is his rest, and he'll come on for half an hour, and we'll just blitz him. I don't think you can do that in the Champions League. Arsenal can't leave Saka or Martinelli out of either leg of that game. Unless something crazy happens in it.
They won't want to be either.
No, exactly.
You can talk Mo Salah into a missing Europa League
it's
game.
Harder to swallow, isn't
whereas
it?
Imagine trying to talk him into this.
That's a bit of what he's left Liverpool with Klopp, hasn't it? This kind of, you get your cards and you make something of it. And this season, no one wanted the Europa League. There was debates probably this time last year about, do you really want to get in the Europa League, or would you want to finish 7th or 8th and be out of Europe and have a good run at it? This is what you've got now. Is the Europa League's enabled you to have Gravenberchs and Endos and Kwanzas and Conor Bradleys and Joe Gomez's that go, I'm not just coming in here for like a couple of games at the end. I've had 25, 30 games this season and starts, and I'm ready to play. So
Endo's probably got a Liverpool career because of the Europa League.
Absolutely. I mean, it's happened before, hasn't it? In the past, Jordan Henderson I think that saved his Liverpool career. Having that. I mean, you look. It's so much harder to do when you're in the Champions League, and there'll be a lot of Arsenal fringe players, Nketiahs and Reece Nelsons and people like that, who if they have to come on in a game or they have to start a game, it's like they haven't started for months, and it's like that suddenly becomes a drop off where you go, oh wow, can he handle it? Can he play? He hasn't played. All of Liverpool's players have played quite recently, apart from obviously the long-term injury ones.
And even those two you players mentioned specifically, they've not really shown anything this season, never mind just playing, but actual proof that they're at the level required to do this. Whereas you're looking at the players we've got, and you're like, well, I'm confident. Like, you could pay him any combination of about 20 people in this Liverpool squad and put them out there in that Atalanta game and go, this is sound.
A great example. I mean, imagine 2 years ago, Andy Robertson was picked up an injury on international duty in March, and you're going, oh my God, that's, that's your title odds suddenly plummet. This is now, it's like, 2 left backs who can play there probably, it's not all right, take your time, not that you don't care or you don't want them available, but you're like, well, Gil Gomez plays there, that's absolutely fine. Simicast comes on as sub, that's fine. There's just so much more wiggle room with it, and I think it's it's almost by stealth that they've done it, isn't it? The squad depth, it's a bit like, where's that come from? The start of the season, remember Chelsea the first game, we're looking at that bench going, like second choice number 6 is James McConnell. Like, what's happening? And that's the first game of the season. And by the end of the season, you're looking going, we're going to have to leave some players out of the squad who deserve to be in it.
Absolutely. We'll talk about what he's going to do this weekend in a minute or two. It's Nova Scotia, it's Erdinger. We're absolutely delighted, and trust me, this fella, it's only got 5 more home press conferences to do. He can do them whenever he wants.
And Erdinger, please.
Stop! Don't forget the best bit.
Welcome back. Still here in Nova Scotia, still very, very pleased to be here, settling in for the weekend. It will be a great weekend, some great games Saturday as well, but it is all about that double header on Sunday. Let's talk about them for a minute, Phil. I think they're in danger of having their season actually be a little bit underrated. I think because they were so blistering last year, especially when they attacked in so many ways. Currently they sit 8th. They've got themselves 10 games to go from this point. I think they're probably a better side than West Ham in 7. I think they can feel upwardly mobile. They've had a good European run that in the end sort of scuppers a little bit and feels a bit harsh. But I think it's important not to act as though they're dopes. They're not, I think they've shown more than enough themselves over the course of this campaign.
Yeah, I think the twice a week thing has been really hard for them, I think, because they're not they were used to having last season. They had a week to prepare, they could do whatever they wanted. And then now, what was their day off is the day before a European game against Ajax or Marseille, and these are big games. And Brighton being 8th, I think underrated's a really good way of putting it. Brighton are 8th, and no one's batting an eyelid. No one's, exactly. No one's batting an eyelid.
If anything, people say they should be higher.
6 points off 6.
Yeah, that's putting them in, probably, for being honest, the top 30 teams in Europe. That's the level.
I listened to an interview today with De Zerbi. I don't know who's done it. The interviewer said to him, if you win 7 of your last 10, you'll break your points record from last season. And I thought, nice one. You win 7 of your last 10, that'll be sound, won't it? And De Zerbi sort of made that point, went, oh yeah, great.
Just as easy as that.
But that sort of sums up what Brighton have become, isn't it? It's like, well, they might. People sort of don't, Brighton have to win 7 of the last 10, yeah, great. But that's sort of, it's amazing how quickly the dial moves where people go, oh, Brighton 8. God, their moment's over, innit? And like sort of, they sold 1 too many players. It's like, they're really good.
Well,
they're really
raised
good
their own
players.
bar very quickly, haven't they? And it's just not appreciated.
The key thing is, they've done all that off the back of the fact that they built last season on a rock of a midfield too.
Exactly.
Both of whom left.
Yeah,
and that to me is where the massive credit. They've lost Matoma in March for extended periods.
Penan's been out for a lot of the season as well.
You go through that side of the thing, given everything, and plus, as Phil says, the weight of the games, I think they're doing really well. I think it is an underrated season.
And don't forget the trouble Liverpool have had with them. They haven't won an Anfield against them the last 2 seasons. They should have lost last season, De Zerbi's first game, wasn't it? Trossard got the hat-trick, but there was a moment in the first half where Liverpool could have been 4-0 down at home at Anfield, and you thought, oh wow.
Do you remember the reaction to going 3-2 up, having been 2-0 down?
Yeah.
It was like we got a consolation back in a 4-1 defeat. It was weird,
It was weird.
Keeper came out.
I think anyone thought it was going to stand, and then it's in the back of the net.
We were going to hold on to it.
No. And we got through another half an hour as well. We got from about 55 to 80 something as well, which was
like we don't deserve this. So
it went in and you were like, well, they're going to equalise anyway, so what's the point of getting excited?
Well, you remember going there early in the season, And when you look back, I think Liverpool should have won that game.
Yeah.
Gravenberch misses a scissor at the back for 3-1. But a lot of people went there and thought, oh God, if we get a draw here, I'll be absolutely delighted with that because of just where Brighton were at the time. So I agree with you.
They started the season very well, if I remember correctly.
Really absolutely.
They won 3-0 at United opening day.
Yeah, they did,
Yeah. They're just they're a really good side with really good players who play in a way that if you're not on it, they can make you look silly because they can keep the ball from you and they can cut through you. I know they've lost a couple of. Mitoma is a big miss for him because he's dynamite, isn't he? But like you look at the. Just some of the other. Erdinger's a top player. Evan Ferguson, he's got a bit quiet, but top player. There's just good quality all through their side.
It's for me, John. Sunday for us is one where we've got to make sure we score first. I think if you give them, listen, Liverpool have been fully starters all the way through the season. If there's one, I would argue, of any of the remaining 10 league games where it would help massively for them to start strongly. Because this is a Brighton side who did ship 4 at Roma, they did ship 4 at Luton, they did ship 3 at Fulham recently. I feel a bit like if we can if we went 1-0 up in the first 15, even that game earlier in the season when the Gravenberch miss comes, that goes 3-1, you get the impression it could have gone 5. I think it's massive, but we can't give them the advantage because of the way they play, how well they look after the ball. If they get ahead, they can keep it at arm's length.
Yeah, you want to control the game, though. The best way to control the game is by scoring, and you can do what you want, really. Listen, you don't want them to sort of sit back after one, but this Liverpool team's professional enough to sort of to know how to do that, and we've showed in the past with our firepower we can make it 2, we can make it 3. Almost that easy. You just don't want them to frustrate you. You don't want them to get the tails up a little bit and make this anything to them. To be perfectly honest, you don't want the crowd starting to get edgy either, you know what I mean? Like, if it's getting close to half-time and we're thinking, well, we haven't had many chances here, we can't get the ball off them, and they're well capable of having, close to or even over 50% possession.
Yeah, more. I think we'll be surprised if it's 40-60, given the way they play, what they're good at.
And so, I think for us, really, there's not more frustrating than watching a game where they've got the ball and you're not even attacking as much as you'd like to, or creating the chances, and so I think an early goal would settle everyone, including the team, including the fans. But I think they'll do it. I'm really confident going into it. I'm really confident because of the players we've got, because of the way we've approached this league campaign throughout. Really, they know what they're doing and they know it's the business end. And I'm really confident that they're going to put on a good performance at the weekend. I think they won't be too much.
I think don't forget as well, the captain's just had an absolute horror show. 2 games for England. He's under the pump. So if you do get an early goal and you put him under pressure, the goalie, I think they rotate the goalkeepers quite a lot, don't they? Have Verbruggen and Steele. Yeah. I don't think either of them are exceptional goalies. One they're good with the feet. So there's definitely weaknesses there. Roma put 4 past them. I think West Ham went to Brighton early in the season, beating 3.
It's a mad game, that.
They're capable. I mean, remember back end of last season, Everton put 5 past them, was it, on that Monday night?
Yeah, we remember that one.
They are a team that sort of, because of the way they play, it lends itself so they can batter you, but they can get battered by you as well. So I think if Liverpool, like you say, if they can start properly, I think it can be, it can be a game that not just is a win. It's a boosting win as well in terms of your goal difference or your sort of your confidence. Even.
I think the goal difference thing's quite interesting because I think a lot of people are looking at what Arsenal have done the last sort of 2 months really, when they went from, I think they were something like 12 behind us and are now 6 ahead, just through the back of that. Now I don't think it matters until there's about 3 games to go and you're thinking we might get the same amount of points here, but at the same time you've sort of got to have it in the back of your mind, and we've got 3 of our next 4 games here in Anfield against sides we should be beating. Sheffield United is where Arsenal have done a lot of damage on their goal difference, so you'd like to think it's the opportunity where we sort of drag that back and go, well, okay, that's sort of out of play as a concern now.
I mean, they can lose 3 at City, they can play well and get beat 3-0 at City, so yeah.
I think on it though, Phil, he's got a couple of selections mentioned before, but he's going to do a left back. I think the rest of it sort of pitch itself. What's going to do left back? Will he go with Konate for this one if he's still not entirely 100% on his fitness? Are you expecting broadly Bradley right back, Szoboszlai, Endo, McAllister in the middle of the park, Salah, Diaz, Nunez?
The only that would be McAllister because he was in Los Angeles, wasn't he? For some reason, Argentina decided that they'd had their friendly and they go to what was it, Philadelphia first and then Los Angeles. At least do it the other way around, lads. Like,
it's on the way.
It's on the way home. It's easier on the way home. So that's the only sort of doubt I've got, but then I suppose if it's a problem, you could probably ride him for an hour and then give him Thursday off. Like, I think there's ways around it. It's thankfully the fixtures have worked out in a sort of favourable way to negotiate that. But yeah, I wouldn't expect too many surprises. I think it'll be broadly, if you can't write the team down and get 10 names minimum, I would be very surprised.
I mean, it's just back to the earlier in the season thing of poor Harvey Elliott again, just sort of 12 man again, isn't he? You know, like, I mean, he another great international break. You know,
see that Rabona out to McLeod?
He's starting Thursday, is what I would say.
Yeah,
It wouldn't surprise me if he starts at Old Trafford.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you'd expect. I think we think Darwin's okay to play. I think Gakpo's obviously not had a great time. I think it was a bit overblown. I think it was.
Yeah, of course it
was. I wasn't on board with some of the criticism that he got, specifically as like he cost Liverpool that game.
That's never how it works.
It wasn't like that, was it? But I think he's out of the team at the moment in your when you're picking your best 11. I think he's out of the team. I think you can easily say that. So I think the only real question I would have would be maybe McAllister. Endo's been back. He only had one game, so he's been back training this week.
Obviously 3 from 4, isn't it?
Yeah. So I think that's the only one you'd have really would be the centre halves and the third midfielder. I think Szoboszlai and Endo are absolute cert. I think McAllister's a cert as well. You think back to early in the season, he came back on like he turned up. I think he turned up at Molineux like 10 minutes before kick-off, didn't he? And started had a bit of a nightmare, didn't he? But Klopp wants them in the side.
He was great to City away off the back of the travel as well.
And has always put him in the side when he's had the chance. So I would lean towards McAllister as well.
McAllister?
Yeah, listen, he's probably been our best player last 2 months, you know, in terms of consistency of performances that he's put in, and he just seems to have the bit between his teeth at the moment. So I think you keep going with players like that when they're hot, and I think that's the key of the title season really, is that when you're hot, you just keep them going, and because you never know how it might change. So yeah, I'll be playing.
Scored as well.
Elliott then. I mean, when you're hot, I mean, I think Elliott's played really well. I think he's played really well for England. My point is, you can make an argument. I'm not saying you definitely do it. You can make an argument, though.
I think Szoboszlai could do with a minute early, to be honest with you still, and I think like I'd be looking to play him into form a little bit, and I just think he's such a great player that I think, him if we're talking about, I'm hoping in a month's time we're talking about Szoboszlai being our form player, because if we are, he's a match winner.
Elliott is also such a good sub as well.
Yeah, and Szoboszlai scored in both games for Hungary, didn't he? And McAllister scored in his. But there's no one who's not in.
Szoboszlai forced the error at third place earlier in the season as well with the press.
Yeah, that's it.
I think he played well that day. I think he got himself about and really put the
And had a rest as well, didn't he? Because they got one of their games got cancelled, I think, didn't it? So
he's been back training on Wednesday, I think.
So how's the league table going to look Sunday 7 o'clock?
I think we're going to have a 2-point lead over Arsenal and 3 over City.
Oh, okay.
We'll draw and I think we'll win.
We'll draw and we'll win. How's the table going to look?
I think City will win. I think City will beat Arsenal quite well, like 3-1. I think Liverpool will win. I think it might be a nervy one. I think it might be a second half another 0-0 half time and go and win it in the second half, maybe off the bench. But I think City will beat Arsenal.
I agree with you. I think that's the most likely scenario. But listen, Liverpool top of the pops Sunday night, however it comes, I'll be happy.
The thing is, there's no perfect outcome, but there's no bad outcome. Yeah. That's the thing. As long as Liverpool win, as long as Liverpool do their bit needs to be done. We've been in Nova Scotia, we've had Neil, we've had Phil, we've had John. Enjoy the entire weekend and enjoy Sunday 2 o'clock until 4 o'clock, and then really enjoy the next bit, and then we'll know where we are, because then it's time for the big 9.